associate with them. And they care about your principals, they care about your teachers, your families, and your kids. And they have a history of serving Pleasant Grove and serving Pleasant Grove well. I passed out a couple of things. First of all, as a stakeholder report, you should have seen this, should have come to your home. It's just in a snapshot. It's what we want to share with you. You are our stakeholders, and we work for you. We work to support the families and parents in our community. And just in a one document, just hitting some of the highlights of the great things that our Alpine team is doing. We also passed out a sticker to you. Our theme this year is Shine Alpine. Some of you may have been able to attend our training with Dr. Matt Swenson with all of our employees. We went down to the UVU, UCCU Center, and we had some wonderful instruction on social and emotional well-being, which is a big issue, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. We gathered our employees and had a kickoff meeting, and that was our theme, is Shine Alpine. And so we've been looking for ways this year to highlight or to bring out the light of the people who serve and love your children and our children. And so we wanted to, for those of you that may be in with or have teenagers, I'm going to grab my drink. One of the cool things with water bottles is to fill it up with stickers. And so if you have one of those, you can put that sticker up on your water bottle, or you can put it on a cell phone, or you can just do whatever you'd like with it. But that's something that we want people to see the good light that's in us, and we want to share that with others.
That was interesting, Rob, because you said teenagers and then let me get a drink in that same sentence.
Isn't that good?
Well,
Yeah.
subconsciously thinking about that.
I work with young single adults in my church responsibilities, and they bring these to church. Anyway, yeah. So here the first slide as I transition to some of the material we've prepared. I love the history of Alpine School District, and this particular school building is one of my favorites. And we wanted to contrast that 104 years later with our newest school building out in Cedar Valley High School out in Eagle Mountain. And so a lot of history and a lot of that right here in this community. Mm-hmm. Our school board members, Dr. Mark Clement is your representative from this area. We are so grateful to have good people who work and set policy, listen to you and others, and give us the opportunity to serve and support families. They truly care about their stewardship, and they want to look for ways to engage and support. This is our district. And I was going to put on another slide that actually had the shine stars. If you look at the way that they're organized, they actually are organized representing each one of the schools in our district. And one of our teams said, wouldn't it be cool if we just made that on a slide and then phased into this? So you can see the stars as it comes up and around, and then the actual school names come in right behind it, because we feel like each one of these schools are a place of light where kids learn, where we want to create safe spaces where they can recreate, they can learn about citizenship, they can develop their talents and learn the things in their academic work that we value here in our community. So our board's number one priority is to recruit and retain the very best teachers. If we do that, our kids will have the very best experiences. The majority of the dollars we receive from taxpayers, whether they're local property taxes or whether they're income taxes through the state of Utah, the majority of our budget goes to people. And that's probably no different than a lot of what the city spends its resources on. It's about people, and great people do great things. And so this is where we spend the majority of our budget. One of the things this year that we have focused on is social and emotional well-being. I mentioned that at our Employee Institute. The legislature passed a couple of laws, well, about 100 education bills, but 2 of them in particular provided some funding, and our school principals got together with our school supervisors and said, we need to focus on social and emotional well-being. We have students who feel alone. We have students with family situations that are difficult. We have young people taking their lives. We have a community issue. And we need to attack that and do our part to support parents and families in our schools. And so what the board did with that, after getting input from every school principal, every school community council, is to hire some laser-like focused staff that we can organize into teams that are directly in the schools supporting kids. Things like elementary counselors, school psychologists, board-certified behavior analysts, social workers, school nurses, instructional coaches to take some of the load off our teachers and to help our teachers and support them as they're developing lessons and engaging kids. These are some of the things that we did this year with those resources. And like most legislators, when you do something outside the box, they like to call you into meetings with them and say, why the heck did you do this? And come be accountable for that. So Superintendent and I are going to be going up and sharing some thoughts with the legislature about what we did. Rather than portion dollars out in a small way to each school, they couldn't hire the level of staff and provide the level of support that we could by having a complementary or a district-wide program that everyone bought into. Every one of the principals, every one of the school community councils, but one, said, this is how we want to use our resources. And so it's a big deal and something that, again, it was quite outside the box. And we're anxious to see the results that that'll provide this school year as we get towards the end and we start monitoring and tracking the data. Most of you know, and I'm not sure why this screen, let me try to come back out and reset that. That looks a little bit better, doesn't it? Hopefully this won't cut us off. In a large school district, we've done a few things to try to keep the school district small. So we're organized in clusters. And Mayor, you'll remember a few years ago when we put that together. Each community has some uniqueness, and we want to empower principals working with their families to celebrate that uniqueness and to do some things as clusters. We have cluster principals. They have direct access to the superintendent and the staff. They meet on a regular basis, and they organize professional development and activities that support those schools within their cluster. It's fairly unique. We've been asked to come back to a national convention and actually present some of this information and how you can take a large school district with a very good economy of scale and low administrative cost per student, but yet still provide opportunities to innovate and do that on a localized community level. And so we're excited about that opportunity to share that story, our Alpine story, with other school districts across the nation. On our website, this is the main page, and we would encourage you to just get out and see some of the new things that are out there for families, for our parents. There's a ton of information out here, and if there's ideas that you have that we can better connect with you and or with your neighbors that send you an email and say, you know, why is the school district doing this? Or why did they eliminate a bus stop over here in my area? Or why fill in the blank? There are ways to do that, and we want to make sure that we're accessible and available to you and to them. this is a great way to do that. In addition to that, we've done a couple of things with our social media. I know one of the council members is an avid Instagram user, and I think more than just one, because I see a couple of you. I think there's a few of you that I follow. But this year, for the first time, we've are working on Instagram as well. So, for example, today we got approval from the fire marshal to open our Lake Mount Middle School. So we shared it out on Facebook, and then we asked the city to share that out on their Facebook, and so forth and so on. It's an effective way for us to get the word out to the community. And so if you're inclined, these are some ways that, again, we're trying to connect with you and with your neighbors and families here in the community. Projects. Usually when I come to City Council, I want to give a little report on what we're doing with your tax dollars in your city. One of the things is Shane and I talked about the projects that we've recently completed. I'll go back to a conversation that we had with you a few short years ago, and we said, hey, we've got an idea to rebuild Pleasant Grove High School, and we need your support on a few crazy ideas like Battle Creek Park and a few other things. And you said, okay, we'll support that. And I thank you for it. One of the finest facilities as I travel around to schools throughout the state and attend athletic events or school events. The Pleasant Grove High School campus, because of what we did together, is one of the finest places to come and be at school or in an athletic event. And I think what we got working together is so much better for the community. And you guys made that happen, and we thank you for that. We're also super excited about Central Elementary School. The school initially on the bond, we did not plan on doing as much as we're doing. And so when the reporters for newspapers or people who come to our meetings and take notes say, well, the school district's over budget. Well, that's a misunderstanding. We've expanded the projects to get more than what we actually committed to do. The full rebuild of Central, and I've got some pictures I want to show you. And there's one, it's a rendering of the school at night, and I'm super excited to show it to you. It's like my favorite picture. I don't know, Vicki, it's like my favorite picture. Because I've had my kids at the Space Center and at Central, and I brought them there with their friends for birthday parties. And it's something that my family is 100% supportive of and has donated to. We're so excited about, and that's right here in your backyard. And prior boards of education and our current board said we've got a need, and we're going to go beyond to make this truly a gathering place for decades to come. So people will come to Pleasant Grove and see some of the great things going on at Central Elementary School. The Space Center, we've raised right now just over $2.3 million of private funds from companies or from individuals. And we continue to meet with companies. I have 3 presentations this month. We've had companies as far away as the East Coast contribute. And our target is $3.9 million is what we're going to raise. And we're well on our way. This is the first really significant campaign that we've ever done. And there are some of you who know all about that. I probably should come get some lessons from you, Diana. But for our first, and Shane and Vicki have been just instrumental in this. But we're excited about that. And then also, we've enhanced many other schools in the community through capital funds and other funding sources. And those are things like carpet projects and computer lab upgrades and field upgrades and so forth. And you see them when they're done and you hear about them from your neighbors and friends. A couple of projects just recently completed. Grovecrest, Councilman Walker was an alumni of Grovecrest, I heard earlier.
I am as well.
Okay, so we have a couple.
Lynn?
And the new Grove Crest is pretty dang awesome. I just love it, and the way the fields turned out, and the way that that all worked together. Again, we're just excited about that project. And then Pleasant Grove High School, and again, I mentioned that with your help on the park and some of the other things we did. We put that master plan together years ago. Dion and a few others. Guy, I think you remember a lunch meeting with the Gibbs and the Coopers and the Rogers and a few others, and we made that happen. What do we have next? Actually, before we go there, I want to just show you a couple pictures of Central. So this is Central Elementary. This is our floor and site plan. On the right, you can see how the school will interface with the road here on the east side. We used to have one where we had the old school actually overlaid, and it kind of sits right there where that parking and the field is. But we're building the school behind the existing structure, and anytime you're building on site, it's a really complex and difficult challenge, but our team's doing a great job with it. The interface also to the road to the north, we're grateful for the folks that allowed us to procure the building, the church building there on the corner. There were some folks not happy when we ended up tearing that down, but when we get this completed, what a phenomenal facility this will be for our community.
Most of those citizens thought that the city was tearing it down, so you're fine.
Okay, well, I apologize that you took some heat for that. You should give him my number, Diana, you've got it. On the left side, you can see the first level of the school. It's a 2-story school, and again, really because of the slope and the grade, we've tried to use that to the benefit of the school. This will be a net zero school, so when we talk environmental considerations, this is our first net zero school. So the carbon footprint and that has been significantly reduced. Shane could talk about, if you have some questions about some of the details, I'm sure he could fill in some of the details there. But this is the very first that has some of those energy efficiency and sustainability issues in our facilities. Here's a rendering of the school looking to the south. And you can see on the far southeast corner is the Space Center. This is looking almost due west from the southern part of that parking drop-off, looking back toward the school. You can see how it has the 2-level. You come in at the top level, and then you go out to the playground on the second level down below. Yeah.
I think it's important to say that is.
Come back.
Is
You wanna-
no, it's a planetarium. Just say it. It's a planetarium. It's a fixed planetarium.
I was going to wait until we got to the last slide.
Oh, your favorite.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah.
They made it spoiler.
You know, that's okay. Sometimes, whether it's a selfie that you got someone jumping in on, no. I just,
It's a little weird when you see
it
the
does.
picture
It's
and
kind of
don't say
bizarre
anything.
what it is. What are you doing there? Well, here's what we're doing. And so what you have up above is a fixed seated planetarium. We're partnering with the Clark Planetarium for material. There is no school district that I can find across the nation that has a fixed seated planetarium with space simulation. We just received a grant from Facebook for virtual reality, which will be part of our space simulations and our flights in an elementary school. I can't find anywhere in the nation where the community and our students have access to that level of engaged learning like you will have right here in Central Elementary. We're so excited, and you can see why this is my favorite picture anyway.
So
Yeah,
would someone,
shoot.
so I'm assuming that would close up, obviously, for the planetarium during the day. Will you literally be able to see inside the planetarium like at night?
You will not be able to see inside the
Okay.
planetarium at night.
Probably because everything needs to be completely closed.
Right, but the one thing we did too with the design is this part of the building can actually be opened and used with the rest of the building isolated and secured. And so it's really kind of an amazing facility for the community. And again, I can just speak for my kids. In the existing facility, we would come on Saturdays for birthday parties and things. And
But you were walking through the entire school.
but the whole school was open, and this will be more contained here on this southeast corner.
So you still need $1.5 million?
Million and a half.
And is this contingent on that $1.5 million?
No,
or-
the board just said we're going after it. And we know when people see what we're doing, we have thousands and thousands of kids. If we really want to change the future, we inspire a child. And this facility does that.
So, and you've reached out to all the past participants?
We are doing a lot of things. They're reaching out in a variety of ways. We were at FanX. We were at FanX last week. So the committee that Vicki serves with will get an update from the folks that were up there. And we've got, like I said, I've got 3 additional presentations this month. I'd love to come see you and get some thoughts from you on what we're doing, and maybe some ideas that you could generate. But we're well on our way. We're excited.
I think my son, who is 33 right now, he was, I think, one of the very first space. That's his job, is to make sure that I've got the mic.
Either that or just shut you off.
I know. No, I think my son, who is 33, I think he was one of the very first groups to go through. So who worked it. So you've got some generations there of kids that it would be fun to play around with. So
Okay.
financially,
I'll be giving you a call.
let's
Okay.
brainstorm.
So
And-
this will be accessible to the community after school hours, reserved for birthday parties, like you're saying?
Yes.
That's
yes.
awesome. Basically just how it's
We-
been now.
We've even talked, and I don't know if the committee, Vicki could probably speak to this better than me, but we've talked about even for some of the companies that have donated significantly, that we would design some custom flights for their teams. You can use this as a team building experience or even a planetarium experience for those companies. And I think they're still planning on that.
We have a lot of faculties at the beginning of the year that will go in and do missions to build their faculties, and there's lots of businesses. When I was the principal there, I saw lots of missionaries on P-Day. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Lots of people come and they come back, and like my son-in-law, I didn't know until after she was engaged, but he worked there as a programmer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is multi-generational, and yeah, it's awesome.
So will,
Kind of makes me teary-eyed.
Same.
I'm sure. Will this be the first planetarium in the Alpine School District?
Yes. We've had in the past a Star Lab, a portable inflatable Star Lab, but it's definitely not this.
It's beautiful.
Okay, a couple of future things. We need to get feedback from you, and things that we have in our planning. And again, none of these are, the board has not said we're moving forward with anything, but these are things that are on Shane's radar, our physical facilities team's radar. And we will continue to come and share with you as we have plans, and those plans are solidified. But the first one there, the final phase of the rebuild of Pleasant Grove High School, we talked about doing that over a period of time. I presented, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and I had those boards that had each one of the 4 phases. I don't know if you remember that, but that's one that we have on our radar. Valley View Elementary is on our radar. We just completed Grove Crest, as I shared earlier, and then continual enhancements, whether that's at Manila or whether that's out Mount Mahogany or others. But every year, we're doing enhancements at schools. So there's just a couple of
Remind
future
me where
things.
Rocky Mountain Elementary is.
It's
Rocky
Linden.
Mountain's in Linden.
Linden.
Oh,
So we don't care.
okay.
Yeah.
So, so did you want me, I can pull it up on Google Earth,
I
but
we're clustered with Linden, I'm okay. But I was like, wow, I can't remember Rocky Mountain.
Well, my wife teaches at the high school. My daughter teaches at Valley View. I like where you're headed.
awesome.
I used to be a Grizzly, but I'm a Hawk now because my kids have gone there for 15 years. So that's awesome. And I think Valley View is one of the oldest schools in the district. They're about
I think
52
it
years
is.
old.
It is.
So that's awesome.
So when we have a master plan, I think a few years ago I presented on our seismic study. There was a lot of talk about earthquake safety. Alpine was the first school district in Utah to go out and hire an engineering firm to do a comprehensive, well, I guess it wasn't comprehensive, it was a study of our buildings and make recommendations. And we use that in our capital improvement planning. And Mayor, you'll remember you were a big part of that. Reevely Engineering, who did the capital project, who's worked with FEMA, they were the group that we worked with to develop that study, and it's been our guide. And we've continued to look at those buildings and repair and replace those buildings over time. So anyway, we're excited about that. Shane, anything else there I need to hit?
There's been some capital money put into Pleasant Grove Junior, new bleachers in the gym, we've remodeled the bathrooms. We have 3 buildings that have the kind of open classroom that quickly became a closed classroom because it wasn't a good idea to have 4 junior high classes meeting in proximity. So we've got Lake Ridge and AF Junior, we're in the process of redoing those. I think Pleasant Grove will see some change in terms of those classrooms, tearing down those temporary walls and reconfiguring that space. We've talked with the principal there, Todd, and working through that as a possibility. And a new water line that goes into Pleasant Grove Junior that we were able to repair twice before school started.
Yes,
That's
you
an
were.
enhancement there.
An enhancement.
But we were happy to fix it once it broke, so twice.
You know, there's always those curveballs that come. And I'm grateful we have a good team and grateful to you that your public works folks that were able to get those things taken care of and school to open. Always when I come to meet with you, I always ask you for feedback and things that you're hearing. What are some things that you need us to know so that we can better serve your families, your neighbors, the kids? How do we support you? I've always appreciated working with your staff. Scott's always accessible, gets back with me quickly most of the time, unless he's really busy or he's out of cell phone range. But no, I just have really appreciated working with your team. And we just want to pause here and say, what can we take back? What do we need to know? How do we better serve and help you in your work here in Pleasant Grove City? So I'm going to grab something to write with so I can take some
Another
notes.
drink?
Let me open up to council and get a drink. I'll just say very quickly that I've had 7 children go through the Alpine School District, and I think as a consumer of the product, we always had really good teachers, and we had great principals, and we had the learning part of it was very easy to see that it was working well. There was a lack in our facilities, and of course my kids have been out for a while, but I think as long as we see that there is a concerted effort to enhance the quality of our physical school buildings. I know that when my kids first went to Pleasant Grove, it was in that transition where I think the building was built to be a 3A school, 2A school, and we were a 5A school, and it was packed. And we saw enhancements happening to other buildings in the district. Some up north, we'd see an enhancement annually, and we weren't seeing those. And so I think as we've seen a concerted effort to enhance our school for our kids, I think that just says, okay, I'm happy to send that property tax, because it is affecting me and my family. So.
I feel the same. For sure. Do you have, there used to be an ASD app. Do you still have the app, or is everything just done through Skyward?
Great question. The app was less than effective.
Okay.
And so we are in the app 2.0. I'm looking back here for support because we've talked about it, but I don't know where we currently are in that development.
Okay. And that's fine because I get most of my information from Skyward anyway, but I was just
Right.
wondering.
And the other three social
I would get
media,
my
we're doing that as
information from
well.
My kids. That's horrible.
But I will take that back and see where we're at.
Traffic on the app that we did on the website, so more efforts are being put into the
That's fine.
website.
And I appreciate the Instagram because I think that will be great for students as well because that's where they're going a lot. Yeah, like Diana said, I mean, just making sure, I know at Pleasant Grove High School specifically, I don't know what the rebuild is including there, but I've heard from residents who would like a focus on, I know, athletics because that's what brings in the money a lot of times for the different fields and, we have Valhalla and they're beautiful facilities, like absolutely beautiful. But for a new auditorium because we've outgrown it. They're doing Les Mis, coming up in November, like amazing productions from our arts and theater department and how we can, like Diana was saying, enhance those areas as well because I know a lot of the attention goes to athletics because again, they bring in, a lot of money for the school. We have a lot of amazing athletes at Pleasant Grove, but just to make sure we're helping those, and science labs as well, but that's kind of what I've heard that they're trying to do a fundraiser for the auditorium. Maybe that's included with the rebuild, but we have definitely outgrown that with the size of our school, and they're an amazing group of kids. So, and let me just recap homecoming last Friday. So we had our Chiefs presented the game ball because it was 9/11 week, which was awesome. And then we had our homecoming royalty presented, who drove around with their parents around the track in their vehicles. And then we had youth football lined up to welcome the team come out. And, balloons went up and everyone's cheering. And then we had cheer and drill perform. And it was really the entire community at the game. The stands were packed. There wasn't an empty seat in the entire, bleachers. And that was awesome. It wasn't just the football team. It was the entire community coming out to support these different groups and our youth. And literally everyone was involved. And that was awesome. And that's what Pleasant Grove High School is about. So well done to the district because I know that you build up those leaders and principals and teachers, and then it trickles down to the students and parents. And so that was a good night. That was fun.
Thank you.
Anything else, council?
I think the two ladies took care of it for us there.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
We're
to say.
PTA moms, so that's our job.
Well, I probably have to remind the council here a little bit, or our citizens, that prior to my coming on the board, it was about impossible to pass a bond issue for the Alpine School District.
Wow.
And capital funds were pretty slim. And I can still remember after I first got on there, I have to hand it to our administration, dug and found some money, and we got air conditioning in the old two-story classroom ring.
I
That was a
remember.
big day.
That was a big day.
And to see where we've come from that to now and what I see that's going to happen in the future, thank you so much. And I know we're in a different thing there where we don't have to, we still worry about bonding, but it's a whole lot easier. And especially your next one come up. And I just want to remind besides our Space Center, that there's another big fundraiser that's out there to raise funds, private funds for Clear Creek. So we got a big project of redoing and Clear Creek and making that quite expanding that. And
That would be great.
and so I know all of you have probably been,
Yeah, I had no idea.
your kids have
Yes.
been affected by Clear Creek, so.
Kids,
Affected.
I went to Clear Creek myself
Oh,
As a
in
former
elementary.
board member, I thought it would be done by now, but anyway. But growth takes precedence on
Yeah.
where you got to, so, but anyway, we'll still push that on for Clear Creek too.
No, thank you. And Mayor, you've been a champion of Clear Creek and of the Space Center. I appreciate that personally. We're going to get the Space Center done. And then, because it is our pillar, when you talk about STEM or STEAM, and engagement and leadership
So
and 21st century skills. Kids that learn how to communicate and collaborate and critically think through problems. That's what you get at the Space Center
Yeah.
with the newest of technology. We're going to get that done. Then we're going to start working on Clear Creek, because Clear Creek is that second pillar when we talk about 21st century learning and what our kids need to be able to do to solve problems that are not even before us. Clear Creek is a big part of that. And our Clear Creek will tie in the astronomy piece back to our Space Center. And it'll be biology and hands-on and some other things too. And then the third piece is our innovation and tech centers. Again, I was working with Facebook today on a robotics grant, and they're going to fund some robotics kits for teachers. And we need an innovation center here on the Silicon Slopes, which we all benefit from. If we can have space and some of those creativity and people thinking beyond what's in front of them, but the future. We have hands-on outdoor experiences, and then you combine that with some innovation in tech. I think those are just going to be phenomenal opportunities for your kids and grandkids and my kids and grandkids to fuel their innovation into the future. That's what 21st century, what our vision for learning about in Alpine School District's all about, and we're just grateful to be part of it with you. So thank you.
Rob, one question regarding the bonds. When you said that you were decided to expand, when ASU wanted to expand the central project, so how is that being paid for if the bond was a set amount?
Great question. So we have bond funds that are limited. We also have capital funds,
Okay.
which we have that are ongoing. We also invest proceeds and generate interest earnings. And then we also have contributions from different vendors, underwriters, and so forth, donors, like we're fundraising for the Space Center, et cetera. So there's multiple sources of dollars that we use to make sure those projects are done.
Okay, so would the next bond be on the 2020 ballot?
The board is considering that. We used to be on a 5-year rotation, and the board has shortened that to a 4-year rotation to coincide with presidential elections. And so that's the board is gathering information and talking about that presently.
Okay. What can we do to support you? Done.
Encourage other municipalities to act like Pleasant Grove.
Yeah.
I think Pleasant Grove is a model municipality in Alpine School District. Great support, great trust, district, great working relationship. They see the big picture that we all benefit from a well-educated populace, and just continue to model what good municipal school district relationships look like.
Okay. We can do that.
You bet.
I would
Yeah,
echo
we're in
that.
support of that.
And then just continue to reach out. If there's something that's bugging you or bugging somebody, let us know. We don't know what we don't know, and we try to do the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much.
And, I always thought, and it always will be, that the Pleasant Grove cluster is the best. Okay, so, and our partnership, we figure, as you with the district is just, will continue and I hope other people will look at our relationship and that. So thank you. Thank you for your time. Okay, we'll now have, we're going to talk about blood. So,
Or stopping it.
Sarah, you can go ahead. Yeah, yep.
Are we bright?
Hey, hold on one sec. Is your mic on? It's great. Okay, and then just bend. There you go.
Are we very bright right now?
I feel like we're bright.
We're bright.
Maybe.
We're
that
shining,
good?
we're shining.
All right, so Stop the Bleed program, the fire department, police department are bringing this to Grove City. So basically what this program is, in April of 2013, a couple months after the Sandy Hook school shooting, the American College of Surgeons got together with a bunch of people from the medical community, the Each year, about 60,000 people in the U.S. die from uncontrolled bleeding.
Wow.
It is the #1 cause of preventable death and trauma.
Wow.
And so with this, in doing the program, we're hoping to be able to just arm people with the knowledge of being able to help others in any kind of situation. How the program works, it's a class anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes long. There is a formal presentation, there's a chance to answer questions, but the main part of it is the skills session, where people actually learn how to do hands-on stopping of the bleeding. They learn the difference between minor bleeding and serious bleeding, and what to do in that situation as far as holding pressure, as far as packing a wound, and as far as using tourniquets. Like I said, it's a very straightforward, simplistic program that just presents the information and really teaches how to use it. Right now, we've got all of our full-time fire staff learning how to become instructors, and several of the officers as well. We've already talked to Dr. Stewart at the high school as far as teaching their staff. We're going to reach out to the
cool.
other schools. We want to reach out to the employees of Pleasant Grove, and then also take it to the citizens of Pleasant Grove, for whoever wants to learn these skills. Along with teaching the bleeding, we're also going to be doing the hands-only CPR, because really, in cardiac arrest, to have immediate bystander CPR, and in serious trauma, to be able to stop the bleeding, there's two ways that a bystander that's knowledgeable and willing can really make a difference in preventing death, possibly. So that's what we want to be able to present to whoever wants to learn it. It's a great program. And then the second part of this program is also having some trauma kits in the schools, so that each classroom will be prepared if there is any reason to have serious bleeding. You have people that know how to use it, and they have the supplies to be able to use it if necessary.
Yes. So Sarah, we went up to high school and talked to Dr. Principal Smith. I'm not Stewart, and I have to say she did a wonderful job, Chief. Same with Captain Smith, and I'll call him Mr. Motzinger, just to mess with him. Did a wonderful job going into our school and presenting this opportunity that they have. And I also asked Sarah to challenge each of us to be one of the first to go through this.
I was going to do the same thing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be, I don't know if you're going to call us guinea pigs, but we're going to go through the class first and set the standard along with the high school. And then I talked to Sarah, we have some great businesses that are going to step up and provide those kits for the high school and then and for the city here. So
Great.
So-
Yes. Yeah. Get us scheduled. We'll be in.
you know, we could do a work session on this.
So from what age to what, so at what age is the youngest that this would, this information would be applicable?
Really, it's written in a way anybody can benefit from it. I would say even as young as elementary school kids
Okay.
have been taught this program. This is a nationwide program, so I mean, they're teaching it in all of the schools in lots of different areas, so.
Okay.
You know what was eye-opening is when we had and I've heard it before, when we had the students from Columbine come and talk, right? That was just eye-opening again, just to listen to the stories and listening to and watch either a teacher or a friend bleed out in front of them. And if only we had this type of training back then, right?
Right, and I think just knowledge is just empowering in those situations to be able to help somebody.
Yeah. Okay, so are there grants? And what's the cost here? What does this look like as you roll this out? You're just going to go into the school system, and they're going to give you some time. But what's the cost here? What do you need?
As far as teaching it, there's no cost to the program other than having instructors there.
Okay.
So it's free for anybody to learn, basically.
Okay.
It's not like in your department you have to pay for cards or anything like that. So the real cost is just wherever we want to have kits.
The kits.
In place.
Okay.
If businesses want to have them, if schools want to have them, wherever they want to have the kits, it's just the cost of the kits.
Okay. All right.
And how much is a kit?
Yeah.
Build a quit.
Yeah.
So we're looking at building our
Okay.
specific to what we want. It's around probably $100 per kit
Okay.
to be able to have what we feel is adequate supplies for like a classroom.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I know it's a need, so.
Well, thank you, and if we could clone you, we would like a dozen of you, okay? Okay, all right.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yes, we want
All right.
more Sarahs.
Thank you. Scott, do you want to take a few minutes here and talk about our, I'll turn the time over to our city administrator about our council meeting this evening.
Okay. We have a little bit of a shorter agenda tonight, similar to the past few times we've met. 9A is a public hearing on a rezone, taking a piece of property from an R18 down to an R17. Daniel will have more detail when we get into it. In essence, I think the developer's trying to capitalize in order to maybe get one more lot. And under the R18, they just barely couldn't meet the guidelines, and so they've requested an R17 in order to potentially meet that. Item 9B has been continued. Item 10A is a resolution, and Dion's going to need a pat on the back for this one. He's been working on this one for over a year with different people, trying to get this property tied up for us to expand what we call Phase 2/Phase 3 of the Valley Vista Bike Trail. This is a piece of property that's kind of key to the development of that, and we finally got to a point where we can get the property purchased. So this agreement sets that up in order for us to do that. Item 10B is somebody that's putting a new home in, and which triggers some improvements regarding new road and things, and what's being required of them is probably a little bit more than what they should pay as far as putting in a brand new road and things like that. So Marty will get into the details, but what this development agreement locks up is that the right-of-way will be set aside for the future road, but that also when the development time comes, future development will pay for that road. With the exception of if there's something that's outstanding and the city will need to step in, I think there's a provision in that for that to happen. Item 10D is what we've been working on for the past couple months, but it's just the finalization of the terms on our agreement for solid waste and recycle to renew that for another 5 years. Any questions on any of those items?
It'll be good discussion.
Okay,
Oh, sorry. 10C, we have an agreement with UDOT. They've allocated
Oh,
up to
yeah.
$130,000 in funds for us to put lights over the bridge there by the rodeo grounds on State Street. Project we've been working on for a while, but UDOT's made the funds available. We have a bid in place. This is the agreement that ties us in with UDOT in order to get this project done. Sorry, forgot that one. That's all we have for tonight.
okay,
If you want, I'll just talk briefly. In 2 weeks, we will have the continuation of this one item. We'll have a couple other things that we're still working on as staff for that meeting. If I had to guess, our meeting on the 1st and the 15th will be pretty light agenda-wise. And then we're trying to figure out what our schedule is going to look like for November for a couple reasons. One, November 5th, I believe, is the election. So, well, let me take a step back. October has 5 Tuesdays. So we'll meet on the 1st and on the 15th. We will not meet on the 22nd or the 29th. And then the 5th is the election night. So we'll need to look at what's coming down the road. If for some reason we have some planning issues that are timely in nature, we might have to have a meeting on the 29th of
Yeah,
October.
I was going to say, why wouldn't we meet on the 29th, especially if we're not going to meet Like, is there a reason that we wouldn't?
The only reason would be is if we.
We don't have any agenda
Yeah,
items? or-
I mean,
okay.
if there's things that can wait, we'll have them wait. If there's things that can't wait, then we'll probably meet on the 29th.
Okay.
We'll know that better in probably about 2 weeks, and then we'll let you know for sure whether to put that in your schedule or not. But we will meet for sure on the 12th, and then probably the 19th as well. We might go back-to-back Tuesdays with meetings, because there will be some things coming down the road that we need to get taken care of. The 19th will be the canvass of the election, but we will probably also have a regular council meeting that day. And then the 26th, which is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, we're trying to keep that as a non-meeting due to the holiday coming up. And then we only have one meeting planned for December, which is the first Tuesday in December. We reserve that second Tuesday just in case there's something that comes up that we need to potentially have a meeting for. And then we try to keep the rest of December schedule-free in regards to any meetings as we roll into the Christmas season. So that's kind of where we're at with schedule as far as we see it. So
Okay, thank you.
does that get us to 5:30?
We're 5:30?
I can tap dance for another 2 minutes if we need to.
No, we're good. Thank you. We'll forego that.
Well, you shut me down there pretty quick, Mayor.
I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn from our work session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.